Okay, so today we're going to talk about what would happen in the equation to affect the period of sine or cosine. So we know the period is 2 pi for sine x and cosine x. Well, the reason that is because we're going to extend our formula now to a sine of bx plus d. So earlier this week we've talked about the amplitude. Today we talked about d being a vertical shift. And now we're going to learn what b does. And b affects the period of the function. So we've got a little formula we're going to memorize, and it is period equals 2 pi divided by b. Well, how did that work for us earlier when we were dealing with y equals sine of x? Well, really, you could think of it as having that x is having a coefficient, and it had a coefficient of 1. So the period was 2 pi divided by b, which was 2 pi divided by 1, which was just 2 pi. Well, we're going to get some values other than 1 now for b. So this is a very important formula. Write it down and star it. And let's write down that formula for sure, too. So let's say we've got this graph. Y equals the sine of x over 2. And you think, actually, let's start with a nicer one. Let's do y equals the sine of 2x. Well, we have our basic formula, which is y equals a sine bx plus d. And in a day or so, we'll learn where the c is, but that's what we have so far. So I'll ask you all the things. I'd say, what's the amplitude? And you'd say, 1. And I would say, what's the period? And instead of just saying 2 pi, you would say 2 pi divided by b. And for us, I'd say, what is b? And I'd say b is 2. So the period is 2 pi divided by 2. The period is pi. So instead of the graph taking all the way from 0 to 2 pi to complete, I was just going to make a real quick little sloppy graph, but I guess I'll just go ahead and make the graph and just apologize that it's sloppy. So the normal sine function starts 0, it's height, 0, depth, 0. Well, this sine function is going to complete the entire curve between 0 and pi. So in order to get these values on the x-axis, we're going to do the period divided by 4, and that's going to tell us, let me just write period divided by 4, and that will give us the intervals on the x-axis. So for us, it's pi over 4. So we're going to count by pi over 4s. So we've got 1 pi over 4. This is 2 pi over 4. 3 pi over 4. And pi is 4 pi over 4. So just between 0 and pi, we're going to get the full curve. So we're still going to start here, but we'll get the height at pi over 4, cross at pi over 2, depth at 3 pi over 4, finish up at at pi. So it's like it got shrunk, but we won't use that terminology, but its period changed. So it completed the full curve faster than the normal parent function does. Alrighty, let's do another. Let's do y equals 1/2, no, cosine 1/2 x. And we have the same type. Y equals a cosine bx plus b. So I'd say, what's the amplitude? And you would say 1. Now I will say, what's b? And you'll tell me 1/2. And what's the period? It's 2 pi over b, which is 2 pi over 1/2. So instead of dividing by 1/2, we're going to flip the half up and multiply by 2 over 1. So instead of dividing, we're multiplying by 2 over 1. So our period is 4 pi over 1, or just 4 pi. All right, now to get the interval for the x-axis, it's the period divided by 4. So our period is 4 pi divided by 4. So we're going to count by pi's. So all the way out for 4 pi, 2 pi, 1 pi, and 3 pi. Amplitude is still 1, -1. Cosine starts high, crosses the midline, hits its low point, crosses the midline again, and finishes high. Do I need to do another? I think that's it for today. I'll give you one for you to practice graphing. Let's let you graph y equals, let's do the cosine of pi x. Give that a try.